For centuries, King Solomon's tomb was a mystery whispered through history. Archaeologists searched, historians debated, and legends grew. Then, a forgotten trail in ancient records led a modern team to a steep hillside near Jerusalem. What they uncovered was far beyond expectations. Hidden chambers, intricate carvings, and sealed rooms appeared one after another. Each discovery raised questions no one had answers for, pointing to a secret that had remained untouched for 3 millennia.
The king behind the legend. King Solomon ruled Israel in the 10th century BCE, rising to the throne after the death of his father, King David. David had united the tribes and secured Jerusalem, but the kingdom Solomon inherited was still unstable. It was young, surrounded by rivals, and vulnerable to internal division. According to historical and biblical records, Solomon was also very young when he became king. Many expected his rule to be short or weak. What followed took the ancient world by surprise. Instead of ruling through constant warfare, Solomon chose a different path. Reports from ancient texts describe a king who relied on planning, alliances, and control rather than force. His rule quickly became linked to wisdom. "Do I lay claim to the air you are breathing now? Is it mine since it is within my chamber?" Stories about his decisions spread across the region. The most famous account describes 2 women who each claimed to be the mother of the same child. Solomon's judgment exposed the truth without bloodshed. His true mother shed. Whether this story is fully historical or shaped by later tradition, it shows how people remembered him. They saw a ruler who could solve problems others could not. As his reputation grew, so did his wealth. According to records and later reports, Solomon controlled key trade routes that linked the Mediterranean world to Africa and Asia. Ships sent under his authority traveled to distant regions such as Tarshish, and some scholars believe these places were sources of gold, copper, ivory, and rare materials. Reports suggest these expeditions returned with goods never before seen in Jerusalem. This flow of wealth transformed the kingdom and placed Solomon among the most powerful rulers of his time. King Solomon is an intriguing figure because the Bible makes so many claims about him controlling vast amounts of territory. The strongest symbol of Solomon's authority was the construction of the first temple in Jerusalem. Ancient accounts state that the project took 7 years and required careful planning on an unprecedented scale. Cedar wood was brought from Lebanon. Stone blocks were cut with precision so they fit together tightly. According to biblical accounts, the blocks were shaped at the quarry so perfectly that no hammer sound was heard during construction at the temple site. Gold was used not only as decoration, but as part of the structure itself. According to tradition, the temple became the center of worship and identity for the people of Israel. It also turned Jerusalem into a political and spiritual capital. Many believe this building was meant to stand forever. 300 years or 400 years after the construction of the building, but the building was still standing in Jerusalem. Solomon's fame reached far beyond his borders. Foreign rulers began traveling to Jerusalem to see him for themselves. The most well-known visitor was the Queen of Sheba. According to reports, she arrived with caravans filled with gifts and tested Solomon with difficult questions. Ancient sources claim she left both impressed and unsettled by his knowledge and wealth. Whether every detail is accurate or not, the story reflects how Solomon was viewed across the ancient world. The fame of King Solomon has spread like a rising tide, have crossed the desert for many months to bathe in the ocean of his wisdom. He was not seen as an ordinary king. He was seen as someone who understood things others did not. When Solomon died, the world went quiet around him. Records stopped, details vanished, and whatever followed his final days slipped out of reach almost immediately.
The century-long enigma of the missing Solomon tomb. After Solomon's death, something deeply unsettling became clear. His name continued to appear everywhere, in laws, songs, traditions, and later writings, but his physical remains seemed to vanish from history. When historians and archaeologists began studying the ancient landscape of Jerusalem, they encountered a disturbing silence. There was no marker tied to Solomon. There was no confirmed structure. There was no burial chamber that could be reliably linked to him. For a king described as one of the most powerful figures of the ancient world, this absence raised serious concern. It was not expected. It was troubling. The mystery becomes even more striking when Solomon is compared to other rulers of his time. His father, King David, is traditionally associated with a burial site that has been identified and honored for centuries. Other Israelite kings left behind tombs, inscriptions, or physical traces that pointed clearly to their final resting places. Solomon did not. One explanation offered by historians focuses on destruction. In 586 BCE, the Babylonian forces invaded Jerusalem. The city was burned, walls were torn down, and sacred buildings were looted. According to historical reports, entire sections of the city were reduced to rubble. Some believe Solomon's burial place may have been damaged or erased during this chaos. But something that's never mentioned in any of those records is the Ark of the Covenant, something that would have certainly been mentioned had they taken it. At first, this explanation seems reasonable, but it quickly raises another problem. Other royal tombs endured the destruction, or at least left traces behind. Solomon's burial did not. This led researchers to consider a more deliberate possibility. Some believe the tomb was hidden long before the Babylonian invasion. According to certain interpretations, Solomon's immense wealth made his burial site a prime target for grave robbers. Others suggest that secrecy was part of a larger royal strategy. Beyond these explanations, darker stories began to circulate. According to later texts and local traditions, some believe Solomon's tomb held more than treasure. These accounts claim it contained sacred objects or knowledge considered dangerous if exposed. There is no solid evidence to support this, but the persistence of these stories is notable. According to locals and later writers, the belief that something powerful lies buried beneath Jerusalem never fully disappeared. Driven by these beliefs, many groups attempted to locate the tomb. Medieval knights searched for it, guided by legend and religious conviction. Explorers during later centuries followed ancient maps and rumors. In modern times, archaeologists used advanced scanning tools and excavation techniques. We're going to continue, and very soon we're going to find something really very important and very special over there. Each effort ended the same way. No chamber was found, no entrance appeared. Every failure deepened the frustration and strengthened the mystery. Practical limits also played a role. Much of ancient Jerusalem lies beneath modern buildings. Political tensions restricted access to key areas. The terrain itself proved dangerous, with unstable rock and collapsed passages. According to excavation reports, many promising locations could not be fully explored. These limits left critical gaps and allowed the mystery to endure. Over time, Solomon's missing tomb became caught between story and evidence. Legends grew louder, while proof remained silent. Scholars debated, believers waited, skeptics dismissed the entire subject as myth. Still, the silence refused to fade. For centuries, every accepted method failed, but the story was far from over.
Discovery in the most unlikely place. All right, that's one of the part of the Double Gates Temple Mount. It also that went still to underground of the Temple Mount. For centuries, the search for Solomon's secrets focused on the ground. Archaeologists dug where tradition pointed them. They scanned beneath temples, walls, and known royal zones. Every effort ended in silence. That pattern changed with the work of Dr. Emily Carter, a modern archaeologist who believed the answers were not buried in stone, but hidden in paper. Dr. Carter was not known for dramatic excavations. According to colleagues, her strength was patience. Instead of leading digs, she spent years studying ancient records that most researchers ignored. These included tax lists, labor payments, supply logs, and administrative notes from the late Iron Age. Many considered these documents dull and repetitive. Dr. Carter believed they were honest. She believed records meant for accounting often revealed truths that stories tried to hide. While reviewing translated fragments from regional archives, she noticed something unusual. Certain records listed large shipments of stone, tools, food, and labor wages. These were not small deliveries, and gone through to the standing pit and dealt with the bones. The skeleton, the body would be left here on the bench. They were organized, repeated, and expensive, yet the destination was never clearly named. Instead of place names, the documents used vague references such as protected sites or restricted zones. According to reports, this pattern appeared multiple times over several years. At first, Dr. Carter assumed the gaps were damage or poor preservation, but the pattern continued across different documents. Some listed payments for guards, others mentioned extra rations for workers assigned to unnamed locations. When she compared timelines, she noticed something else. These entries clustered around the final years of Solomon's reign. That detail caught her attention.
Dr. Carter began cross-referencing the records with known geography. She compared distances, supply quantities, and travel times mentioned in the documents. If there is some truth to this legend, then where is King Solomon's treasure buried? Slowly, a rough location began to form. It was not inside the main city. It was not near the temple. According to her analysis, the trail pointed south of Jerusalem, near the city of David, toward a steep hillside in the area now known as Silwan. This location raised immediate concern. The hillside was unstable and dangerous. According to excavation reports from later centuries, the ground there was prone to collapse. Ancient tunnels ran through weak rock. Locals had long avoided deep digging in the area. For decades, archaeologists had marked it as too risky to explore fully. That may have been why it remained untouched. According to some interpretations, the documents suggested the site was not only hidden but protected. References to guards and restricted access implied deliberate control. Some believe this may point to a royal project meant to remain unseen. Others caution that the records alone cannot confirm this. Still, the consistency was difficult to ignore. King Solomon is an intriguing figure because the Bible makes so many claims about him. When Dr. Carter presented her findings, the response was mixed. Some dismissed the work as speculative. Others felt a quiet unease. According to reports, one reviewer described the evidence as thin but troubling. Another noted that the lack of a name might itself be the strongest clue. What unsettled many was not just where the trail led, but why it had been missed. The documents had always been there. They were cataloged and translated. They had simply been overlooked. Dr. Carter's work suggested that the greatest clue to Solomon's mystery was hidden in plain sight. The paper trail had reached its end. What remained was the ground itself, and the hillside waiting beyond the records was known for one thing above all else: it did not forgive mistakes. The path forward would no longer be safe or theoretical. It would demand action. It would involve risk. It would involve unstable ground, and it would force the team to confront a place that history and caution had kept untouched for centuries. That hillside was waiting.